Tomb Raider is one of the longest running video game franchises, spanning 12 mainline games, 17 mobile and spin-off games, and soon to be 4 films. It stands out as one of the first major franchises to feature a female protagonist. The series made Lara Croft an icon and one of the most recognizable video game protagonists of all time. The series has had its ups and downs and has even changed development studios throughout the years. The series eventually went into a 5-year hiatus in 2008 after Tomb Raider Underworld was slammed by critics. The series would make a huge comeback in 2013 with a reboot game developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Square Enix, simply titled Tomb Raider. The game was a critical and commercial success, selling 3.4 million copies. It was then followed by a sequel, Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is one of my favorite games by the way, and a third game in 2018, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. A decent but mostly forgettable game, and a soon-to-be 4th game. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the first game in this trilogy, often called Tomb Raider 2013. It is the 10th game in the Tomb Raider franchise and is a reboot of the series. The game is set on Yamatai, a fictional lost island in the Dragon's Triangle off the coast of Japan. The story follows Lara Croft, who's voiced by Camilla Luddington, as she tries to save her friends, escape the island, and discover its mysterious secrets and backstory. The game begins with Lara setting off on her first expedition aboard the ship Endurance, with the intention of finding the lost kingdom of Yamatai. The ship gets caught in a violent storm, leaving the survivors stranded on an island. Lara gets separated from the rest of the crew, she gets captured by a scavenger, and is taken to his cave home. I start the game off with a struggle as I couldn't burn the rope keeping Lara upside down. Once the rope burns, Lara falls to the ground, landing on a conveniently placed steel bar. We start to make our way through the cave. How did one guy build all of this, by the way? We stumble into our first puzzle, something these games are kinda known for. Since we're still in the tutorial phase, you know this will be very easy. Just set a few boxes on fire, lift them up, push them next to the mines blocking the path. The mines explode, obviously, and they cause the cave to start collapsing. We make our way through the cave as the walls, ceiling, and floor start to crumble. The scavenger catches up to Lara and grabs her by the leg. We perform a quick time event, where I learned that this game likes to be annoying. Why would you place the instructions at the bottom of the screen instead of placing it on the circle itself? We turn the scavenger into a bloody pancake and make our way out of the cave with another quick time event. Get used to these, cause there's a lot of them. Lara makes it out of the cave and we get a beautiful title card shot. Lara stumbles her way along the mountainside and reaches a crashed plane, where we learn that edges, beams, poles, or any surface painted white at the top is climbable. We find the leftover supplies from the crew. Lara finds a two-way radio, and obviously it doesn't work, so Lara continues her journey through the foresty mountain and starts a campfire. These campfires act as save points. They also allow the player to use their skill points, fast travel, or upgrade their gear. I'll go into depth on these systems later on. While at the campfire, Lara decides to watch recordings of the crew from a camera she found. These tapes introduce us to the members of the crew. Sam, or Samantha Nishimura, is the person recording these tapes. She's Lara's best friend and probably the most important person in this story besides Lara herself. She's obsessed with Yamatai and its ruler, Hibiko. We also meet Jonah Mayava, the cook of the Endurance. He's a good friend of Lara and plays a very important role in the subsequent games as well as this one. There's also Jocelyn Reyes. She's the mechanic of the crew. She also has a 14-year-old daughter named Alicia and is in love with Roth. We also have Alex Weiss, the technician of the group. It's hinted in some documents in the game that he may have a liking towards Lara, but feels like he hasn't done anything noteworthy to get her attention. And finally, we have Angus Grimaldi, or better known as Grim. He's the helmsman of the ship and has worked with Lara and her father for years. On this tape, we see why the crew is stuck on this island. Lara suggested the expedition head east towards the Dragon's Triangle instead of west, where they originally planned to go. At the campsite, we also get to hear the first of 10 journal entries from Lara herself.
How do I start? Okay. This is Lara Croft, an archaeologist from the Endurance, shipwrecked on an island in the Dragon's Triangle, east of Japan. This place is incredible. I've seen wrecks here that could date back centuries. We weren't the first, and I know we're not alone. Something isn't right about this place. If I don't get off this island, maybe someone will eventually find this.
These journal entries happen at certain parts of the game once the player sits down at a campfire. Next we journey into the forest in search for food. Lara finds a bow on a hung-up corpse and kills a deer for food. The bow shots can be charged for extra damage or just to give you more time to aim. You can skin animals for XP, but it doesn't have any other uses. Same with gathering herbs. They award XP but don't serve any purpose gameplay-wise. In the sequels, gathering herbs or skinning animals allows you to craft healing or buff items, which actually gives you an incentive to hunt for animals or look for herbs. Next, we make our way through some underground broken down tunnel. Believe me, there are a lot of these places and they all look the same. Once we get out of the tunnel, we finally meet up with Sam. She's been taking care of a man named Matthias. He claims to be one of the passengers who's also stuck on the island. Once they all sit down, Sam starts telling the legend of Himiko, and Lara passes out. Once she wakes up, Sam and Matthias are nowhere to be found. When we finally reunite with the rest of the crew, Lara and Whitman decide to break off from the rest of the party and search for Rolf, while the rest of the group set out to find Sam and Matthias. This is a good time to introduce Dr. James Whitman. He's a television host of an archaeology show called Whitman's World. He's desperate for fame and fortune, and would do anything to get it. He's arrogant and self-centered, and constantly goes behind the crew's back to try and find the big story. Him and Lara discover that this isn't some ordinary island in the middle of nowhere, but that it's in fact the lost island of Yamatai. They get captured by a group of islanders and taken to a settlement along with several other survivors of the Endurance crew. When they try to escape, the islanders start hunting them down and killing them. Lara gets found by one of the leaders, Vladimir. She uses his pistol to take him out, and we get a new weapon, the pistol. As you may expect, it has a somewhat decent firing rate, with lower damage and lower recoil. We escape the burning settlement, slowly take down all the islanders, and arrive at another campfire. Here we get another journal entry.
The thing about nightmares is sooner or later you wake up. But there's no waking up from this place, which means I'm really here. I'm really doing these things. No, don't think about it, Lara. Not now. It won't help. I don't know what's happened to the rest of the crew. I hope they're okay. They have to be. They have to be. I don't know what the hell is going on here, but all that matters is that Roth finds a way to get us home.
I won't include all the entries, but anyways, we finally find Rolf at an abandoned village. He's injured, so Lara looks after him for a bit, and then sets off for a communications relay at the top of the mountain, in hopes of contacting the outside world and calling for aid. A little introduction to Rolf here. He's the captain of the Endurance crew. He was a close friend of Lara's father, Richard Croft. He grew very fond of Lara as she grew up. Lara also saw him as a guide or the fatherly figure she lost early on in her life. A lot of stuff happens in this journey towards the radio tower, so I'll just give a TLDR. Shooting, parkour, puzzle, shooting. There's a surprising amount of shooting and a surprising lack of tombs and puzzles in this game. We find a rifle on our way there. The rifle has terrible recoil, but does more damage than the pistol. It's surprisingly bad in this game when you compare it to the sequels. In one of these shooting scenes, we meet a new type of enemy, the shield cuck. You know him, you've seen him in almost every single game out there. Press shift before he attacks to dodge him, then shoot him while he's vulnerable. Easy work. The dodging works a bit different in this game. Pressing shift once will send Lara forward in what's called a scramble. But if you press it again in quick succession, Lara will launch into a full-on roll. If you jump and press shift when Lara lands, it will skip the scramble animation and immediately roll, giving the player a fun way to get around quicker. We reach the radio tower, and we witness the most intense ladder climbing scene in video game history, as the camera changes through 20 different angles while I meticulously hold W. Lara reaches the top and calls for help, and surprisingly gets an answer. That doesn't happen very often. She gets down and creates a signal to alert the rescue plane of their location. But wait, we still have 10 hours of gameplay left. How are we already getting rescued? Ah, yeah, I see. Okay. The plane starts to fall from the sky as we make our escape in what's probably the most well-known scene in this game. Once we escape the heap of burning metal, we find the pilot getting killed by one of the islanders, and Lara just stands there and watches instead of helping. At the campsite, we listen to another journal.
I can't get it out of my head. A storm that came out of nowhere, out of a clear sky, and brought down a plane. It's not rational. You know it's not rational, Lara. There must be some explanation. I just don't know what it is yet.
On the way to our next journey, I decided to finish one of the game's tombs. There aren't a lot of these in the game, which is surprising for a game called Tomb Raider. They're all optional and are quite easy. This game, unlike the old Tomb Raider games, has a feature called the Survival Instinct. The Survival Instinct, when activated, will make important items and elements glow, helping you if you get stuck at some point. This tomb is probably the most difficult in the game. You need to close the window that's getting blown open by the strong wind, then raise the platform and get up on it before the window bursts open from the wind. Then jump at the right time to grab onto the wall and finish the tomb. At the end of every tomb there will be a big chest with the reward. The rewards will usually be weapon parts to upgrade your guns or bow. And now I will dive into the weapon upgrades and talent point systems. There are 3 talent or skill trees in this game: Survivor, Hunter, and Brawler. Once Lara levels up, she gets a skill point to spend. You have to spend a certain amount of skill points to unlock the more advanced parts of the tree. The Survivor tree is mainly focused on exploration and looting. The Hunter tree focuses on Lara's ranged weapons, the bow, pistol, rifle, and soon to be shotgun. And the Brawler tree, which is honestly the only one I care about, is focused on Lara's melee combat and health. These trees are decent, don't get me wrong, but only the Brawler tree makes the game more fun. The other 2 trees feel a lot more niche and don't really give you an incentive to max them out. There are 5 weapons in this game: Lara's bow, pistol, rifle, shotgun, and her pickaxe. The pickaxe only has 1 upgrade, which is gathered quite early on in the game, but the other weapons are a lot more fleshed out. They have salvage upgrades, which directly upgrade the weapon, things like recoil, reload time, mag capacity, damage, and so on. These upgrades are achieved by spending salvage, which is materials that are gathered from the open world: salvage crates, boxes, enemies, and so on. Then there are weapon part upgrades. These are gathered from tomb chests or random chests found around the open world. Once you collect enough parts, Lara will upgrade the weapon, unlocking new and more advanced salvage upgrades. We find the co-pilot of the plane, who's also been stabbed. We get to meet our friend Matthias again. He blows up the bridge, but before his goons can kill Lara, they get ambushed and taken out by a strange group of islanders. They wear outdated samurai-like armor, use older weapons such as bows, swords, and huge wooden or metal objects. They also don't seem to speak English, but instead communicate entirely in Japanese. These creatures kidnap Lara and take her to one of their palaces. Lara escapes and destroys the whole place, of course, but not before snatching a shotgun from a dead body. This shotgun, unlike in most games, is incredibly strong. It fires very quickly for a shotgun, and although it has terrible range, making it unusable in certain shootouts, it can still stun enemies no matter what distance it's used from. It's also used to break barriers that block Lara's path. Once she escapes the palace, she gets contacted by Sam on her radio. She's been kidnapped and has been taken to a Japanese palace. At a nearby campfire, we get another journal entry.
Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse. What were those things in the monastery? They were dressed like the Storm Guard, and the sounds they made almost inhuman. Shit, just listen to yourself, Lara. You sound like Dad. It's like they're the remnants of some lost civilization. Okay, now I really sound like Dad. All I know is they killed those men, and I have a feeling they wouldn't hesitate to kill me too. But I can't think about this now. Sam's in trouble, and I've got to get her back. She's counting on me.
Lara almost gets herself killed again, falls through a plane window, and parachutes to safety in the most beautiful sequence in this game. Lara gets herself badly injured, not surprised, and finds herself in a random shantytown. This location, although very ugly, is the most fun area of the game. Tons of parkourable objects, tons of enemies to take out, and tons of collectibles to find. In this shantytown, we unlock flaming arrows. These are extremely good, and I'm surprised they are so easy to get. They're tied to the amount of normal arrows you have, so by just getting normal arrows, you also get flaming arrows. In the subsequent games, you have to collect materials and use your normal arrows in order to craft flaming arrows, which is a lot more reasonable for how powerful these are in combat. Lara makes her way through the shantytown and finds Grim being held captive. He sacrifices himself to kill the gunman and falls off the tower. Ruff gets contacted by a rescue helicopter. Knowing the help is on the way, Lara quickly makes her way across the bridge to the Japanese palace, while Ruff covers her with sniper fire. We arrive at the temple and witness some sort of ritual. Sam has been selected by Matthias for a sacrificial ritual to resurrect Himiko. The Solari Brotherhood believe that in order to stop the dangerous storms keeping them on the island, they have to resurrect Himiko. Lara interrupts the ritual and gets captured and taken to a cave complex, filled with flammable gas and swarming with guards. As she makes her way through, she finds the rest of the crew trapped and held up in a cage. She frees the crew, but not before blowing up the whole cave, causing the palace above to start collapsing and burning. We escape the cave and make our way through the palace to rescue Sam. We find Dr. Whitman acting as suspicious as ever, and we also find Sam being held captive in one of the rooms of the palace. We free her, and Lara warns her not to get on the rescue helicopter. She knows something is keeping them on the island, and the helicopter won't survive the dangerous storms. Lara then proceeds to climb up on one of the towers and jump up into the helicopter in order to try and force a landing so no one gets killed. The pilot refuses to land. Lara pulls out a gun.
You finally lost it, partner.
And then this happens.
Fuck! You're crazy! Lara! Lara! Come on! That's it. Come on! Ah! Come on, Lara!
It's them. I can't do this without you.
I'm sorry, Lara. I'm sorry. You can do this. Lara Croft.
And just like that, Ruff gets killed, kickstarting a new part of Lara's life. Now she has no one to guide her or teach her. She has to learn on her own and face the dangers of this island head on. On a side note, this death, although sad and depressing for Lara, doesn't have any real impact on the player, since we barely spent time with Ruff. We know he meant a lot to Lara, but the game doesn't make him mean much to the player. Same with Grim, to an even bigger extent, since we only see Grim in one of the tapes and then see him die. Are we supposed to care about him when even the game doesn't care enough to include him in the story? Lara finally connects the pieces of the puzzle and discovers that the storms are somehow linked to Himiko. The Storm Guard, who are the samurai-like creatures we saw earlier, are protecting something in the ritual chamber inside their monastery, but Lara needs a boat to reach it. Lara heads into the forest, which is swarming with guards. She makes it out through a cave and leaves the shantytown to arrive to a shipwrecked beach, where she meets with the others. We find that Reyes is trying to fix a boat so the crew can get off the island. Lara knows that won't work, but she needs the boat to get to the monastery, so she goes along anyway and helps the crew fix the boat. She retrieves a block and tackle from a nearby boat to help the crew. Whitman arrives at the scene, pretending to be chased by the Solari Brotherhood, but Lara knows something is up and warns the crew not to trust Whitman. In the meantime, Alex has gone to retrieve tools for Reyes on the abandoned Endurance ship, but he hasn't come back in a very long time, so Lara sets out to try and rescue him. On the way there, she finds out that scientists during World War II were trying to figure out what was causing the storms and were trying to find a way to stop them. She also finds this interesting document.
Lara's totally right. Something seriously fucked up is going on here. It's a natural phenomenon that causes the weather to go apeshit, a military research base, some kind of sun queen, and a crazy cult. I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd say this is a big put-on. TV cameras hidden in the trees? But, you know, I gotta admit, it's scaring the shit out of me. I keep cracking jokes to cover it up. Reyes looks ready to kick my ass. I think I need to do something useful before I completely lose it. I wish I could be more like Lara. She blows me away. Not only is she brilliant, but she's also an amazing ass kicker. Now, if she didn't notice me before, she sure as hell won't now. But maybe I can still do something to get her attention.
We make it to the ship, fight some kind of mini-boss-like guard, who goes down very easily. This is on the highest difficulty, by the way. We find a rope ascender, which allows us to pull heavier objects, and we find Alex trapped in one of the ship's rooms. We enter his room, and this happens.
Oh, Alex. You got the tools.
Finally, I impressed you.
Let's get you out of here.
God.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that looks like my dance career is over.
What are you doing? You'll kill us!
I'm not gonna make it out of here, Lara. Take the tools.
Not without you!
How often does a guy like me get to be a hero?
Nowhere to run!
The others are counting on us. Go! Now!
And just like that, another crew member goes down. His death a little bit sadder, since we know he was just trying to impress Lara and get her attention, but got himself killed in the process. We make it back to the crew, and Reyes continues to throw shade at Lara, first when Ralph died, and now with Alex. This rivalry sadly goes nowhere, and Reyes just forgets really quickly. This could have been a really interesting backstab plot, and the game constantly teases it, but nothing ends up happening. Like maybe Reyes could have tried killing Lara, but Jonah stepped in to save her and gets killed instead. I don't know, something to make the story a little bit more interesting. But hey, I'm not the story writer here, so who knows. Next up, Lara decides to explore a nearby tomb on the coast. Inside, she finds out that the Ascension ritual is not a ceremony to crown a new queen, but rather a ritual that transfers the original Sun Queen's soul into a new body, and the process destroys the host's soul. Himiko's spirit wants to escape its current body, and Matthias plans to offer Sam as a new host. Lara thinks that by destroying the original body, she can stop the storms that are keeping them on the island. She heads back to the others to try and convince him, but finds that Whitman has betrayed them. He's abducted Sam and has given her over to Matthias. She finally convinces a wounded Reyes that they can't leave the island without taking out Himiko first. So they set off on their final mission and head to the monastery. At the secret monastery entrance, Lara heads in by herself while Jonah and Reyes hold back the Solari Brotherhood. Inside, Lara sees Whitman with Matthias and Sam. Matthias tricks Whitman into approaching the Storm Guard. I think you can guess how this goes. And Matthias runs inside the monastery with Sam while the guards are killing Whitman. Lara enters the monastery through a secret opening and sneaks around while the Oni are marching through the monastery. She gets spotted and gets shot at by flaming arrows, causing the floor to burn. She falls into some underground part of the monastery where we get the second to last journal entry.
The prayer I found on that general talked about a soul in a decaying body being the cause of the storms. I know he must be talking about the last Sun Queen, but I don't understand what Himiko has to do with this. She was the first queen. Somehow Matthias thinks Sam's connected, and that can't be good. Damn you, Whitman, you'll do anything for a story. I know the answer is inside that ritual chamber, but getting to it won't be easy. The Storm Guard are devoted to guarding it. I know I have to do this, but I'm so scared of what I'm going to find in there.
Lara stumbles into a windy opening. The Oni make a huge attack, sending an army after Lara. This is definitely the most fun shooting scene in the entire game. Giving the player a bigger and more open field of battle allows them to experiment and actually get to use the talents they've been collecting throughout the game. Once we take down all of the Oni, we enter our final puzzle room of the game, where you have to lift up a bell, then slam it onto the ground, and use it to time a jump and escape the puzzle room. We enter our final area, where we have to climb to the top of the monastery and stop the ritual. Himiko becomes enraged and starts destroying the monastery while Lara is climbing up. This is where the climbing mechanics go from fun and enjoyable to annoying and repetitive. The pickaxe climbing gets used way too much to the point where it becomes annoying, and the pickaxe seems to not want to stick to the wall at certain points. Once we get to the top, we have to fight off the Brotherhood and the Oni. On one of the little islands, we get to face the big boy himself, which is technically the final boss of this game. So what does this boss do? It only manages to get one hit on me and goes down on the first try. This is on the highest difficulty, by the way. We finally make it to the ritual island. We kill Matthias, the big bad guy of this game, the main antagonist, with a quick time event. Makes sense, I guess. Lara stabs Himiko's body with a flaming torch, ending the ritual and putting an end to this madness and saving Sam. With the storms now ceased, Lara, Sam, Reyes, and Jonah leave the island, and we get our final journal entry.
I've been so blind, so naive. For years, I resented my father, doubted him like the rest. But he was right about so much. I just wish I could tell him that now. There are so many mysteries that I once dismissed as mere stories, but the line between our myths and truth is fragile and blurry. I need to find answers. I must understand.
Alicia making me waffles before her ballet class.
Need anything? Don't really know what happened to you on that island. Judging from those wounds and that look in your eyes, I'm guessing I don't want to know. Anyway, we'll be home soon.
I'm not going home.
Tomb Raider 2013 is a very good game. May I even say a great game. It offers fun and simple parkour and shooting, while at the same time building a good story with fun and interesting characters. Although it does have its faults, lack of tombs or any real puzzle difficulty, somewhat boring skill trees, and the fact that it's followed by one of the best single player games ever made, kind of ruins the replayability of the game. I mean, why would you replay a shallower and less fleshed out game when you can just play Rise instead? But if you're looking for an 8 to 12 hour story game with a fun story and fun mechanics, then Tomb Raider 2013 will suit your needs perfectly. Thank you to everyone who has watched this video all the way to the end, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Sayonara.